Hey, how you doing, guys? Go ahead, come on in. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about a fun game. A lot of you have heard of it. It's very common in the business world. It's a very good thing that you can learn to play. A lot of high-level executives are going to be playing that, so it's really good to have some skills and sharpen that. It'll help you get ahead in your career. So I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, and I'm of course talking about the game of Mario Smash Brothers. Yes, Super Smash Brothers. You may have played it on Super Nintendo, you may have played it on N64, GameCube, lots of different platforms. It's even out for the Wii now. So, what we're going to be talking about today is terminology, what you need to know about the different words, what things mean. We're going to be talking about the etiquette of the game. There is one. It's very important that you follow that. It's a very highbrow, sophisticated activity. Very important men play this game, so there's a lot to know about the manners involved. And then strategy. It's a very strategic game, so there's a lot to know. But let's go ahead and talk about terminology with Mario here. So first, melee mode. That's the most common mode you'll be using, since you probably won't be playing it by yourself much, except for training, in which case you would just use training mode. So, melee mode, 2 to 4 player combat, that's where you'll be playing with your peers or your co-workers or most likely your boss if you plan to get ahead. So, we've also got things like basic attacks. That's going to be your one button A, B, shift key, those types of things depending on what platform you're playing with. There's also combo attacks. Those are a little bit more advanced. You have to use multiple buttons and you have to be facing a certain direction. You can even use combo attacks with different items. An item is a weapon or an ability, so it could be a home run bat, could be a ray gun, could be a lightsaber. It could also be not just a weapon, but an ability that you have. It could make you made of metal. Or there's actually a Mario mushroom that makes you larger temporarily. So an item could be any one of those things. Damage, there's a percentage meter for all of the characters. So you'll see your damage, and the closer you get to 100%, the more damage you've taken on. You can actually go past 100%, and once you get past 100% damage, then you're ready to die at any moment. So be very, very careful at that point. So now let's talk about the etiquette of the game. What manners should you be aware of when you're playing this with your coworkers and especially with your boss? So first, be respectful of the owner of the home in which you're playing or the setting. If it's an office setting, then you definitely want to respect your superior. Also, respect the owner of the actual gaming platform. So whether it's someone else's GameCube or someone else's Wii or whatever, make sure and be respectful of their wishes in how to play the game, what items you can turn on and off, because you are able to disable or enable which items pop up on the screen, how many lives there are. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to be mindful of, and let the owner or the superior kind of dictate how you're going to play that game, and that's totally fine. The arena advantage. So you might be more comfortable on Fox's Starship, but you're really not very comfortable in Donkey Kong's home. So definitely switch off with the arena that you're comfortable with versus the arena that your friend or your boss is comfortable with. It's very important to be able to be flexible and not always insist on having your own home advantage. It would also be good, just, this is more of the strategy section, but it's definitely good to learn the different ways and advantages of arenas in the game, especially if you go into random mode. So at random, you can select the game to just pick a arena for you, so you want to be ready for anything when that happens. So here's the screen where you would look at picking an arena. You've got that random box right there on the left-hand side, and it looks like we've selected four-side eagle. So that's the screen where you can actually select your arena. The other thing to remember is character dibs. So make sure and be respectful of other people and their characters, especially, like I said, if it's your superior or your boss. Definitely let them play with their character that they're most comfortable with. It's just respectful and it's just polite to do. Now here's the screen where you would select your characters. Right now it looks like we've got Dr. Mario versus Link. So we've got a lot of different characters. It's also good to be mindful of which characters go well with other characters. Now, again, that's more of a strategy thing, and we'll talk about that later on. But here's the screen, so now you know what that looks like. Overused attacks are very obnoxious. If you have something like Pikachu's Lightning Strike, and you just keep doing that over and over and over in the game, yes, technically it could make you win the game, but it's just very obnoxious, and it's not polite to do to the other player. So be mindful of not overusing the same attack over and over. Then the death rotation. So let's say you've got 4 controllers and you've got 6 people. So it's important to do a rotation, that way it's fair for the entire group. The customary rotation that you do is the 2 people with the lowest scores at the end of one game, they switch off with the 2 people who didn't play, and so on and so forth. So let's go on to the fun part, strategy. So we've got Star Fox over here showing us our strategy. So strategy is different depending on the setting that you're playing. So with your peers, you would definitely want to be primarily focused on just winning the game. If you're with close friends or, same level coworkers that you have a good relationship with, you can just kind of be free and be mindful of winning the game. Now, if you're playing with your boss, that's a different story. You might want to be a little bit more mindful of your career there. Think about, how is your boss going to react to being defeated, or how is he going to react to you letting him win? So first, let's talk about your peers and how to play with them. So a worthy opponent is good to have depending on which character they're playing with. So let's say your opponent has chosen Bowser and you want to play with Falco. Well, Falco's going to be really fast. He's going to have a lot of quick gestures, but he's also going to be pretty jumpy. And whenever he actually comes into contact with Bowser, Bowser's going to knock him right out of the park. However, Bowser's not going to be able to keep up with Falco very well, so he can easily miss Falco because Falco can dodge him very easily, jumping around, moving swiftly from left to right, and so on and so forth. So you got to be aware of those advantages and disadvantages when you're picking a character. That also involves a little bit of etiquette. So you can see there's overlap between strategy and etiquette here. So it could be a good strategy to use Falco with Bowser. However, it might not be the best etiquette. But since we're talking about peer play, it's definitely good to just focus on victory strategy. Now, finding the high ground in your arena is always a good idea. So this is, again, talking about being mindful of the different arenas and the different advantages that go along with their landscapes. Learn those and use them to your advantage. If you've got platforms that disappear or rotate, know the timing of those and maybe lure your opponent on, and then whenever that thing disappears, then they'll fall and you can use that to your advantage. Avoid damage. Definitely learn to avoid damage. This is trickier than it sounds depending on what level of expertise your opponent may have. Use your shield, you can roll, you can duck, you can jump. Do all of those things and try to avoid incurring damage, because that will allow you to hit them as much as you can and then survive with as many lives as you can preserve for yourself. Master the items. So if you've got a mine, don't throw a bomb when you've got a mine right next to you. That's not good. You'll die and you'll probably incur more damage than your opponent even did. So that's just an example. Learn how the items interact with each other. Now, with your boss, it's important to be mindful of the strategies that you use with your boss. So, for example, don't be a noob. A noob is someone who clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. So definitely practice on your GameCube or your Wii or whatever, because it's going to be important that you look knowledgeable about the game so that your boss doesn't think that you're just trying to play with him in this highbrow, sophisticated activity to just try and get ahead. Compliment him. So make sure, not in a weird way, not in a clearly suck-up kind of way, but, don't be afraid to compliment his arena choice or his choice of character. Say, oh yes, I very much like that character too. Know some specifics about your likes and dislikes of that character. Play to win. Sometimes your boss is going to be respectful of someone who really knows what they're doing. So feel your boss out, and if he or she is the kind of person who really enjoys a worthy opponent, play to win for sure. However, if this is not the case, disregard the play to win part and go easy on the boss. Now, not in an obvious way. Don't just go jumping off of platforms and killing yourself if you don't need to, but definitely go easy on the boss if they're the kind of temperamental person who wouldn't take kindly to being defeated, especially if they take a lot of pride in their Super Smash game, which a lot of high-level executives do. You'll find it's definitely a point of honor for them to be good at Super Smash Brothers. So, I'm glad that you guys have had this opportunity to get to know this very sophisticated, long revered activity, long practiced by kings and gentlemen. So, do we have any questions? Any questions? All right. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.